between 1914 and 1918, and around 64,000 Indian troops were also wounded. Well, I'll take a minute to describe these 20 images of our Indian Jawans from the World War I as we honor the valor of our brave soldiers. Alright, first up, in fact, let's take you through each one of them. This is a very important and a clear image of Indian soldiers in France. And next up is Sikh soldiers in France. As you can see, they are in fact in a very intrepid style, feeling comfortable and getting to know the local populace as well. As you can see, a young French boy is introducing himself to Indian soldiers in Marseille, the city where the Prime Minister is today. Next up is an image of wounded Indian soldiers who are posing for a photograph. As already said, there were thousands of Indian soldiers that were wounded in this campaign. And this is another image of soldiers who are in fact marching to their destinations in France, and more images where Indian reinforcements who fought at Givenchy are also at display over here. There are flags right behind them, a French flag of course standing tall there, and this is Maharaja Bhupinder Singh with Belgian generals, who is also taking stock of what's happening over here. Behind him you can see a number of soldiers there. This is a 12-inch railway howitzer, an important in fact tool or a weapon that was used in these wars, and Indian army gunners at Jerusalem can also be seen in this particular picture. Israel was not formed at this point in time, and this is of course checking a map on the Western Front was the other image, and this is a picture of Indian troops manning a particular post, and this is in fact the image where a map of the Western Front is being studied in order for the direction of the soldiers to go to. And next up is the Indian cavalry during the Battle of Byzantine Ridge, an important battle that in fact shaped the course of World War I as well. Next up is Indian soldiers digging trenches. Trenches of course became extremely popular in World War I. They protected soldiers, in fact gave them a clear sight, and eventually also became graves for the same soldiers. Moving on, some hospital in Brighton which had about 680 beds for Indian soldiers. A lot of these palaces and official buildings were converted into hospitals. And another image, an important image of Indian troops at the bayonet exercise, and they of course are fighting in snow there, which was not something that they were used to. Indian troops embarking for Kilwa, and this is October 1917, an important image more than 100 years old, and Indian troops at a gas mask drill. There were a number of chemical weapons which were being used, especially by the Germans at this point in time, which required troops to have gas masks to protect themselves. Moving on, improvised cookhouse at an Indian cavalry camp near Kuru. This is the 29th of July 1916, and another image of troops of 29th Lancers Regiment near Sai in March 1917. And more images from this past coming alive. Indian troops of the 7th Meerut Division is also something that we'll get to see, and this was in 1918. So amazing compilation of the history that India shares, not only with France but surrounding countries as well, when it comes to our legacy and our contribution for the democracy and the freedom that some of these countries enjoy today. Let's talk about this. Joining us on the show, to take up this important discussion is Air Vice Marshal Arjun Subramaniam, former fighter pilot, military historian, and author of 3 definitive books on contemporary Indian military history. Also joining us is Air Vice Marshal Arjun Subramaniam, like I already introduced him. Moving on, we have some more people who are going to in fact be lending their voice as to what this means and this important discussion, and where it stands today, especially when the Prime Minister is in